This is Josh Reeves, and you're listening to the Mile High Church podcast. January is our Back to Basics month, and all of these talks are about the most fundamental aspects of our teaching. Also invite you to check out our classes. They're in person on our campus or online. Learn more at milehighchurch.org.
My message to you today is that there is no place where oneness cannot be revealed. There is no place where oneness cannot be revealed. There is no tragedy where oneness cannot be revealed as grace. No fractured relationship where oneness cannot be revealed as forgiveness and harmony. No judgment or resentment where oneness can't reveal itself as an expanded understanding and opening of the heart. We see this in tragedies like these terrible wildfires in Los Angeles. As awful as they are, we see in response the restoration of hope because of first responders and good people coming together to help other good people rebuild their lives. Parker Palmer, a great Quaker teacher, tells the story of every year for his personal retreat going to a place called Boundary Waters in Minnesota. Beautiful nature there. And there was a terrible wildfire that decimated the area. And he still decided to go, but it was so awful to see. He so missed the beautiful nature that he told himself he wouldn't return again. Luckily, that wasn't true. And he came back the following year, and the year after that, and the year after that. And he would share on each visit since, I have been astonished to see how nature uses devastation to stimulate new growth, slowly but persistently healing her own wounds. When I read that, I think of him, of course, speaking to nature, but I also think of our own inner lives, those places within us that experience devastation. That when we confront them, there's that part of ourselves that says, I ain't going back here again. And yet, courageously, we are called to return again and again to find a seedbed of healing and of new life. We learn that living a life of wholeness isn't living a life of total joy and happiness, but a path of healing that integrates all of our parts together. As Palmer also shares, wholeness does not mean perfection. It means embracing brokenness as an integral part of life. Knowing this gives me hope that human wholeness, mine, yours, ours, need not be a utopian dream if we can use devastation as a seedbed for new life. I'm so honored to be a minister at Mile High Church, and I get so excited talking about the divine ideas. I am so excited to talk about co-creating your life with a love intelligence. I am so motivated to talk about a God that is not fixed but fluid, that we can grow with and can grow in us every day. I am thrilled to share with you that you are a divine idea. And if we can stop the superficial false living in accordance with trying to be who we think others want us to be and live fully and authentically, our life becomes a beautiful work of art. All that being said, I would sum up the purpose of our philosophy in one word: healing. Healing. We are a philosophy of healing. So before you go out manifesting the life of your dreams, you must first stop and pause and look at all your you-know-what. We are called courageously with this philosophy to confront those places of devastation within us so that oneness can be revealed. The great Ram Dass said that healing is not about going back to the way things were, but instead it is about embracing that which brings us closer to God. Healing is not about going back to the way things were before, but rather it is about embracing that which brings us closer to God. Everyone here who's been or experienced a deep fracture in relationships knows a little something about this. You experience a betrayal or a breaking of trust, and you both, if you want to renew the relationship, have to build newfound boundaries of understanding, recognizing things will never be like they were before. But with some hard work, things can even become better if we are committed to healing. So many of us who've been through challenging physical experiences know that maybe we healed, but that healing is an ongoing process. We will never be that as we were, but we can be something bright and beautiful and brand new. So I ask you today, where is oneness being called to reveal itself in your life? Where is oneness being called to reveal itself in your life right now? What's the relationship? What's the self-judgment? What's the experience? What's the world challenge where you are called to be a space for oneness to reveal itself? When I think of devastation within my own being, I think of something I've been more conscious of these last couple of years. There's this part of me that really struggles to articulate his own needs. I think when I was a boy, I had an experience of articulating what my need was, and it wasn't met. And I took that as a message that it is dangerous to articulate my own needs, and it is best to not even try to articulate them to myself and to bury myself into the service and care of others, hoping they'll figure out what I need and give it to me in return. Anybody like this at all? There's an intricate part of our teaching, and it is this, that we believe in personal responsibility. We don't believe in blame. Are there many people to blame for the woundedness that we may experience in our lives? Absolutely. But there's no constructive value in it. Once we are wounded, it is our wound. And it is up to us to know who we're going to be in relationship with that wound, how we're going to take care of ourselves. It is not our duty to help other people see their creative process in their own wounding. The cardinal sin of religious science goes something like this. How did you create that for yourself? Or what was it in your consciousness that brought forth this experience for you? We don't do that because we also believe in a great cosmic law called mind your own business. However, if we can find the courage to create enough sanctuary within ourselves, I can pause and ask myself, did I have a hand in any way in creating or persisting in this wound that I am experiencing? Is there anything in my consciousness that I want to address, not with blame or shame or guilt, but with the desire to take positive responsibility for my life that I can confront and love and uplift myself with? I shared a couple weeks ago about my spiritual life, and using a phrase from Ernest Holmes called "dare to lose your small affection," I shared that the whole story of my spiritual life has been getting up to a point where I don't think I could love anymore. And then something shifts or transforms and changes, and life says, guess again. Right? You can love more. You will love more. And this past year, my experience of that has had to do with loss. Loss and grief and mourning are currently my strongest teachers. I lost my father this past year. I've had some experiences of fractures in relationships, deep, deep loss. And it has helped teach me to love better, to know love more. Am I thankful for the things that have taken place? Absolutely not. And yet, back to that articulation of needs, I can see that I still get caught up in thinking that love is all about giving and receiving, and it is. And yet at a deeper level, when you're struggling to realize that you can't give or receive love with the person that you cared about so much in the way that you once did, I've come to realize at an even more profound level that love ultimately is something that is either on in yourself or off. That I'm either in awareness of love and therefore in connection with everyone I've ever loved in an active, meaningful way, or I have rejected that love within myself because I have dismissed my need for it and it has become dormant or stagnant. I'm either living my life in love or I'm on the outside of it in arrogant criticism, disconnected from that flow of heart and meaning. How does oneness show up in our lives? It shows up as healing. It shows up as epiphany. It shows up as idea. It shows up as inspiration. It shows up as depth of meaning and purpose. It shows up in all of these incredible ways. And essential to our teaching is that we can do our own inner work to have oneness revealed in our own beingness and in every area of our lives. I've been talking this month about different styles of affirmation and giving you the charge to practice them in your life. I want to go back to the most simple charge that there is. If you get one thing from me in my teaching, it is this: have a morning spiritual practice. Have a morning spiritual practice. That is the most essential way to cultivate openings to oneness manifesting themselves in your life. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, speaking of his spiritual technique of treatment, if you want to learn more about it, you can still join Beyond Limits on Tuesdays or Thursdays, but I invite you to just interpret the term today as spiritual practice. Holmes says, treatment is not willing things to happen. It is to provide within ourselves an avenue through which they may happen. That's what morning meditation is. It's providing an avenue within ourselves so that oneness can reveal itself. It's the opportunity to disconnect from the constant noise and information that is not helping us live as authentic beings in the world, to connect with our inner self and to say, every cell of my being is oriented and opening itself to being an avenue for divine good in my life today. What a beautiful spiritual practice. What a reverent way to practice self-care. Meditation is opening every aspect of ourselves to be an avenue for oneness to reveal itself. And prayer, this thing we call affirmative prayer, it is then looking at the areas that matter to us, to our lives, to also open up the channels and the avenues for oneness to reveal itself. Meditation is opening ourselves to the divine idea. Prayer is opening our understanding of the many areas of our lives to be a channel for oneness to come through. How can this grandest idea I can think of about divinity express itself in my relationship with my son and how I show up at work today, in what's going on in California or in Washington, D.C.? How much can I open the avenues of my own consciousness for a greater experience of oneness to be revealed? Of prayer, Holmes also said, Prayer is not an act of overcoming God's reluctance, but should be an active acceptance of his highest willingness. The oneness is always there, but it has to be revealed through an avenue. That's the charge for you and for me to step into, not just once in a while, but every day. I've spoken in this series about how our teaching is the result of a philosophical movement that got started in New England in the 19th century. But just as much, Mile High Church, our spiritual community, is a demonstration of the history of those who have given their lives to reveal oneness, who've committed themselves to the dignity of all people, no matter their race, religion, orientation, that all of us, nationality, are born to be free. We are a demonstration of those who believe in the religion of human dignity and liberty and freedom. Last week I talked about enlightenment experiences, mystical experiences, and people who at a young age had an experience of oneness with all of life. I talked about our beloved Carol Buxton and our beloved Roger Teal. And I want to touch upon a different type of enlightenment experience today, the baptism by fire. What I would refer to as the soul-offending experience. Have you ever had that experience where you witnessed or experienced such a forsaking of dignity that it woke your soul up to a degree that it became awake and you committed yourself to being a presence for oneness to be revealed, to bring forth a greater level of dignity for you or for other people? The history, the heart history of our faith is based upon people and incredible individuals who had these soul-offending experiences. Ralph Waldo Emerson, our philosophical forefather, we call him, he fell in love in his 20s with a beautiful woman named Ellen. He was living an incredible life. A successful minister of a Unitarian church, respected in his community. And Ellen, who had had health challenges, they really sped up, and she passed away. And Emerson was just devastated. It set him into a spiritual crisis that would ultimately have him give up the life that he had built for himself. He grieved so strongly that 4 months after Ellen's death, he actually dug up her coffin and opened it to look at her. And he did not see death, but he was awakened to something else. The beauty and the eternality that expresses through nature. He was reminded of how the universe individualizes itself in each and every person, and that the individual has infinite potential to become. He became aware of an oversoul, a mind that connects and inspires us all, that calls us to live in freedom. And he would write profoundly, "For it is only the finite that is wrought and suffered. The infinite lies stretched in smiling repose." Soul offended, soul awakened, oneness revealed. Emerson's chief acolyte was Henry David Thoreau, who lived on Walden Pond that Emerson owned and expressed many ideas. I never heard him express an idea that didn't have Emerson in it first. But he wrote a piece called Civil Disobedience that was about seeing a lack of morality expressed through law and doing everything in your power with the consciousness of good and dignity to overcome that law. Emerson and Thoreau would apply this to fighting slavery in the country. And many decades later, a young man named Mohandas Gandhi would come upon this book. and it would inspire him to help change life for millions and millions of people. Gandhi had been born in an Indian home and with a Hindu tradition that he in many ways rejected because he wanted to be a good English gentleman. He loved the law of the United Kingdom and became a lawyer, and he got his first job in South Africa, and he was on a train there headed for his first day of work, a first-class ticket. And there was an usher who saw him because of the color of his skin and demanded that he move his way to a colored train card. Gandhi, a proud young man, refused, and he was thrown off the train. All of his luggage thrown on top of him. He sat in a fetal position and wept for many minutes. He got up and called his employers and explained what happened. They apologized and told him that he could get on a stagecoach that would take him the rest of the way. Well, they had rules there as well, and he wasn't allowed to be in the stagecoach, but the stagecoach driver allowed him for a while to sit next to him. But then a new driver came on and refused, and when Gandhi refused to move again, he boxed his ears and beat him bloody and threw him on the ground. Soul offended, soul awakened, oneness revealed. Gandhi would dedicate his life not only to overcoming the oppression of British rule in South Africa and India, but to help undo the centuries-long terrible caste system that allowed people in India to push other people down in order to lift themselves up. Right in the middle of Gandhi's ministry, there was a young man in the United States by the name of Howard Thurman. Thurman's grandmother had been enslaved, and she was his spiritual mentor and guide. And as a teenager, Thurman was paid a little money for raking on the neighbor's estate. And they had a little white girl, and Thurman would rake these leaves, and sometimes they would be playful with each other, and she'd throw some of the leaves around. Well, one day she was throwing them a little too much. He wasn't getting his work done. And so sternly he said to her, "Please stop that." The little girl got angry, and she pulled a pin from her hair, and she stabbed Thurman with it. "Ow! Why did you do that?" And there was a look of shock on the little girl's face. And she said, "You're not human. You can't feel." Here's this young man who's growing up in a world full of beauty and nature, and yet realizes he also lives in a world of consciousness that would hate and take someone's dignity away because of the color of their skin. Thurman would dedicate his entire life and ministry to the dignity of all people. He was an essential part of starting the first ever interfaith church in San Francisco called the Church for All Peoples. He would go and meet this amazing man Gandhi and realize that he could apply Gandhi's satyagraha to civil rights in the United States. Soul offended, soul awakened, oneness revealed. Thurman would write his essential work called Jesus and the Disinherited about the religious duty to uplift the dignity in all individuals, especially those that have been discriminated against throughout time. A minister by the name of Martin Luther King Jr. is said to have carried this book with him all through his travels and his struggle of using Gandhi's principles towards establishing civil rights and ending segregation in the United States. King Jr., a young man growing up in Georgia, when he was about 12 years old, his teacher saw something in him and signed him up for a speech competition 90 miles away. She saw something in him so much that she went with him on a 90-mile bus ride to participate in this competition. And King won the competition. And here he was, not only successful, but feeling prized and seen by this incredible teacher. And they get on the bus ride home, and there's some white folks that get on, and the bus driver insists that they move to the back of the bus. That wasn't so much an indignity as much as it was, but apparently the teacher wasn't moving fast enough, and the bus driver started shouting slurs and cursing at her. King didn't go to the back of the bus. He stood right there and held on to a pole, not moving the whole 90-mile ride home. Looking back at his career, he said, I had never been more angry in my entire life. Soul offended, soul awakened, oneness revealed. We cringe when we think of these terrible experiences that these individuals experienced, and yet we see the birth of hope, the birth of a newfound dignity and understanding that moved through these incredible individuals to help create a greater realization of what oneness can be. When have you been soul offended? And are you soul awakened? Because when you are soul awakened and you become a presence, oneness reveals itself and life begins to change. King, late in his career, would say, I know that love is ultimately the only answer to humankind's problems, and I'm going to talk about it everywhere I go. I know it isn't popular to talk about in some circles today, and I'm not talking about emotional bosh when I talk about love. I'm talking about a strong, demanding love. For I have seen too much hate, and I say to myself that hate is too great a burden to bear. I've decided to love. If you are seeking the highest good, I think you can find it through love. He who hates does not know God, but he who loves has the key that unlocks the door to the meaning of ultimate reality. Let us bring a greater awareness of love within and all around of us for the healing of our own being, the healing of our relationships, the healing of our communities, our country, and our world. Let us first bring this avenue for oneness to be revealed into the places of perhaps devastation within our own beingness. And then embodying that love, courageously representing it wherever we see an opportunity for dignity to be increased, for love to be practiced, and indeed for oneness to be revealed. So going within for prayer today, I invite any of our incredible prayer practitioners to stand and join me. These folks are available to uplift you with prayer after service today. And let us just take a moment to become aware of what oneness means to us. What does oneness mean to you? Are you aware of the immense depth of spiritual life, of hope and for good, of the possibilities of all life that is a reality right here and right now in divinity? And are you aware that this oneness is aware of you too? It knows who you are. It knows why you are. Hell, it's the reason that you're here. Becoming aware of the awareness of the divine of us, in us. May we open the avenues of the cells of our being, the inlets of our consciousness, to be an outlet, to be a presence for oneness to be revealed. Wherever that place is, you may be seeking oneness in your life. May you be aware courageously right here and right now. Look it right in the eye. But have that courage to let any story you have about it go. Are you willing to have oneness be revealed? I know I am. Giving thanks to be aware of this divine connection, knowing that as we are aware of it, we are part of the legacy of King and Gandhi, Jesus, so many who have given their lives for the freedom of all people and have found themselves one with the eternal. Allowing that eternal legacy to sing in our hearts today, I know we apply it to every situation going on in our lives and our world. And as we go through a transition of our American government that begins tomorrow, may we, in sacred duty, know and apply this knowingness that oneness can be revealed through guidance, through clarity. And may dignity trump all in goodness, in health, in well-being, I didn't mean Donald Trump when I said that. May that goodness inspire our new president. May this desire for goodness inspire all of our lawmakers, every civil servant in all different places. With love, with well-being, we affirm this oneness revealed. We know it cannot be backtracked. It only continues to move forward. With love and with clarity, we let it be and become. And so it is. Amen.
Thanks for listening to the Mile High Church podcast. This podcast is made possible by the generous contributions from listeners like you. To make a donation, please visit milehighchurch.org.